It's compelling, it's cutthroat, it's chaotic, it's clever, it's controversy and chaos, baby.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 23 of Controversy and Chaos. I finally got on board with the numbering schedule. That's why I need to write like a little sticky note to keep on my laptop. Like, okay, what number are we on?
It's hard to remember sometimes.
It's hard out here for a pimp. It's hard out here for a pimp. And now every time I say that, I think about Terrence Howard, like that interview that he did with Joe Rogan. Like, I didn't know that he was like that smart.
He's so smart.
I had
be honest, like, okay, I didn't finish it because, you know, life happens and sometimes it takes me a while to get through certain things.
That shit gives me a headache.
I love it though. I love multi-form content. But when you listen to certain people, it's like they talk in riddles and you're doing mind gymnastics to follow the conversation. Yes. And I like that because it's like, it keeps my mind sharp. You know what I'm saying? Like, this sounds very idiotic, but I like watching interviews with, like, let's say Orlando Brown.
Yo, that man, child.
He is, but it's like, you know, certain people, like even Kanye, like they talk in riddles and they say certain things like, what the fuck are you talking about? But then when you sit there and actually listen to them,
yes,
and it comes back up, it's like, okay, I get it now. And
it's just the delivery in which they said it. That's just like, huh? But even like Terrence Howard's like interview with Joe Rogan's just like, okay, if you think about the things that he's saying, it's like one of those things your mind has to be able to process. So I feel like it's one of those things you have to listen to it and then re-listen to it again to be like, okay, what is he saying? Like, even when he was breaking down math and sound and all of these different things, it's like upon initial listen, it's like, nigga, shut up. Like, you just saying anything.
You have to go into it with an open mind.
Yes, but the way I look at it, it's like, why can't he be right? We are taking Einstein and, you know, all of these people, it's just like, they were just human beings. They could have been wrong.
And I'm pretty sure
nobody knows.
And I'm pretty sure at that time, people probably thought their ass was crazy too.
Yes. So it's just like, it's more believable because it's just like, well, I can't tell you that you're wrong because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So now it's just like, I don't think that it's just like, okay, these were the only people to be right about how electricity works, how, like, when they come up with like math and calculations, it's just like, okay, this is the only way that this can be. That's not true. Why can't other people be just as smart and be like, actually, there's a flaw in that. And here's why there's a flaw. I personally, I can't call it. I'm like, you could be right, you could be wrong. I don't fucking know. But I'm open to the fact that there are other people outside of what we've just been taught that can be like, hey, this is it. 1 times a number. Why is it exactly that number? I'm like, I don't know. Why is that? Why? I don't know. But you said it. You know more than me. I just know how to do the math that they taught me. And that's it. So if there's some other logical explanation as to why this is wrong, you tell.
Because I want to hear it. And we already discovered the fact that even if I think someone's an idiot and I don't agree with you, I still want to hear your point of view because I'm just inquisitive in general. So
yes, but in certain things you do be entertaining the foolishness. Like, you know that it's like, this is some bullshit. But you're going to be like, yeah, really? And I'm just like, Sarah, please stop talking to them. Stop. Just stop. Because it's not making sense. It's really not making sense. And you just keep it encouraging. But you know who else is like that? Nada is like that. She will, when I tell you she will talk to anybody, anytime, any place, I just be like,
you know, it's entertaining.
And she'll know that whole life story.
I love that. Like, I literally love that. And also, I love hearing people lie when I know they're lying because it just adds entertainment to the story. It's character development. You know what I mean? It's also kind of like when you see people do that, you kind of like pick up on certain things and it's like, I know you're a bullshitter and I know you're lying. So the next person I encounter who is doing these things, it's kind of, I don't know. It's like a mind muscle memory, something. I don't know. It's fun. Add a little spice to your life.
Listen, I just be like, you lying because it's free at this point. You just lying, just like, there's no reason. I'm not going to go and fact check what you're saying. So why are you lying? Like, but some shit is just like, that is a big ass lie. Like, I wasn't born yesterday.
Yeah. But I guess I just have a high tolerance for bullshit, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I can only stand it when I have a properly charged social battery. If that shit is low and I gotta put the battery saver on, I'd be like, baby, please stop talking to me. Because I don't speak to me. Just shut up. Because I could just get up and walk away. You know, like those people who like leave mid conversation. That would be me. Like,
I've literally
I'm
witnessed
at my peak and I gotta go.
No, let me tell y'all something about Tori. I don't even know if we probably have had this conversation. You could be in a party, we could be doing, it doesn't matter what we're doing. You will literally see Tere's face zone out, and I'll look at her, I'm like, what the fuck is she thinking about? Like, she's not here. She's not present.
I'm completely disassociated from everything that's going on. I'm just
and then she'll just pop up and be like, huh? Oh, yeah. And then just start laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing? And you're like, I don't know. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you thinking about?
I catch myself and I'm like, bitch, act normal. Like, what is wrong with you? I catch myself doing it.
No, that's like, me when I used to smoke. You ever feel like, I haven't smoked in so long, but like when I used to smoke, I used to feel myself being like high, and then I used to be like, girl, act normal, act normal, act normal. Like, you're not acting normal. And then I'll ask somebody like, am I acting normal? And sometimes they'll be like, what are you talking about? You're being regular. And then other times it's like, Tori be like, yeah, no, you haven't said a word in 30 minutes. And
yes, like we went to fucking Blue Flame. I was just like,
I was stuck, honey.
Okay.
I thought I was having the time of my life in my head.
Ain't said a word in 35 minutes and standing in one spot. And I'm just like, okay, well, let me order some food so I can get the fuck out. Because clearly we have to leave because this is not working out.
I think that's why I'm even torn on like even smoking, because my brain either goes like one way or the other.
And I feel like you just have to get the right kind. Like you have to find the strand that this is like, okay, I can function, I can act normal. Like me, Indica's I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to just be like,
yeah.
No facial expression, nothing. Like that is, I should just go to sleep. Because that's the only thing that I can possibly do to not be sitting here like a dipshit.
Yeah.
So it's just like you got to find the right one. Even when you do edibles, there's certain kinds that's like, that's like, what do you plan on doing? Do you want to function, or do you kind of just want to sink into your couch?
Yeah.
If you want to sink into your couch, there's a kind for that. There's a kind that's like, oh, I just want like a little buzz. I could be active and, keep it going. Maybe you need like a little vape cartridge. It's like, okay, I'm cool. Like, you know how people like who smoke cigarettes, like, okay, they just need 2 puffs and they straight and they're good to go. That's basically what it is.
Child.
So it's gotta find what's for you. But I definitely, I disassociate from a lot of shit. And you know what that is a symptom of?
ADHD.
Yes.
I've learned. But you do it so often. Like, to me, I feel like somebody who doesn't know you might think like, oh, she's standoffish, or like, what's wrong with her?
And that's what the problem is. I just like, no, I literally, sometimes like if I'm out and I'm like, okay, it's not time to go home. I'm not going to ruin the time for everybody else. So it's just like, I disassociate for a little bit. And literally I'm like recharging myself. And I'm like, whew, okay. Now, if I have sunglasses, it's a little bit better because I just
nobody can see.
But when you can see me, I literally just have like the blinkest, like deer in headlight stare. And I do it all the time. Like I'll be in a car with Colin, like, what are you thinking about? I'm like, nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. I'm having no thoughts right now. My brain is actually very quiet.
Wait, so sometimes you really have no thoughts?
Yeah. Like if I'm doing it, and sometimes I'll just be like looking out of a window. And I'll just like see stuff go by. Like most times if like we're in the car, I just look at like the billboards or look at the signs. And I'm just like,
How do you turn your mind off like that?
I don't know. It just does
I can't think of one time that I haven't had one thought. Like even when I'm falling asleep at night, I have like a million thoughts. I fall asleep, I wake up, and I try to remember what was my last thought so that I can continue the thought.
Sometimes it just turns off. And then usually like if somebody grabs my attention, I'm like, huh? Like, oh, okay. And then I go back to paying attention. I'm like, wow, their bumper is really raggedy. I think because I have so many thoughts in rapid succession all day long that sometimes it'd be like, my brain is too much to process. So it's like, just stop.
That makes sense.
No thought. Like 5 good minutes. They're like, okay, now I can go back and pay attention to all the shit that's happening.
This is gonna sound so idiotic, but like sometimes I will like let's say I wake up in the middle of the night from a dream. I will try to like think about the last thing I thought about. If I can't pick it up, I'll go through my phone to see like what was the last thing that I thought about so that I can trigger the dream and like go back into my dream. And most of the time it works.
No. Well, I don't dream a lot. Like memorable dreams.
I dream so much.
I don't have memorable.
Maybe I'm a witch.
No, I think I'm just weird because you're supposed to fucking dream and I don't. So, my headphones. But yeah, I think you're supposed to just like have dreams, and sometimes it's rare that I do. Mm-hmm. Or like it's like, oh, I remember exactly what I was dreaming about. But I'll have times where I wake up and usually it's to go to the bathroom. But if I don't open my eyes really and I just keep everything dark, like I don't try to pay attention. I don't wake up first and like, I have to pee. I should get up now. No, I just get up, go straight to the bathroom, pee, come back. I can go, lay right back down, go straight back to sleep, and continue whatever I was doing.
Yeah. Well, that is so crazy.
Yeah. I don't know why these things happen to me. I really don't know why, but just the way my brain works. ADHD. Sometimes it's a magical thing, and sometimes I be like, I don't understand what is happening to me right now. But oh well. But today, I wanted to, about kids.
This is not a mom podcast, but every couple episodes, we're going to talk about some kids.
We're going to talk about some kids, okay? But not necessarily about like our children specifically, but just in general of like, do you think it's selfish to not want to have children or not have more children? Because I feel like there's such an influx of people being like, I don't want kids at all. Like, not a one. And I feel like they're younger people, like people in their 20s. Like sometimes if you're 20, 21, I'm sorry, but I'm not listening to your opinion.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like you haven't lived enough life yet to even say. I like to even want to make that decision. I feel like at 21, you shouldn't even think about having kids. Like I'm not worried about what you're saying. Yes, everything is like fun and a vibe and a party because you really at that point don't have any real responsibility. That transition from college to like I'm a full-time adult hasn't really set in yet. I feel like that maybe like first year or two after school, you're still kind of in like that limbo of like a college mindset, but now I guess I should get like a job or something like that. That's a weird like transitional period. So I don't really count their opinions, but I'm talking like people 25, 28, into their 30s. Like I don't want no kids, or like people like me who have one, and I'm just like, absolutely not. I would never have another child.
I think this is tricky because I feel torn about it. A part of me says yes, but the other part of me says no. And the no part comes from the idea that I really think that if someone doesn't want to have kids, they should not have kids because it's only going to trickle down into that child's life. But I do think, not to say anybody has to have a reason to not want kids, but when people tell me they don't want kids, the reasoning is always very selfish. Like, oh, because I don't want to be responsible. It's like, nigga, you're 30. What do you mean you don't want to be responsible? Like, what, you get what I'm saying? So it's like, you can't live in this whole bachelorette lifestyle for the rest of your life. And I think our generation is two things. I think a lot of it comes from maybe not traumatic, but a sense of a traumatic childhood where it's like you saw your parents struggle to provide for these kids or provide for you and all these different things. Or you saw your mom not have a life because she was raising her kids, or the parents are grinding and doing all these things. And I feel like those things can be true, but I do think that there is a middle ground. There is a middle ground that you can meet. and have a family, have kids, and still live an adequate lifestyle. But I think a lot of people in our generation are just very like immature in the sense, now granted, I don't think I'm the most mature person, honestly, but I think immature in the sense of like, you just don't want to have to do anything you don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, even with having a pet, like, not to compare kids to pets, but even with that, like, do I want to get up and walk a dog at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning? No, but do I also want to clean up pee if they pee in the house? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's kind of like, should you have kids if you really don't want them? No, because nobody wants, I think there's enough children in the world or in foster care and all these different things that have parents that didn't want them. But if I feel like if your reasoning is like something I deem to be stupid, then I think it's selfish. It's funny that we're having this conversation because even with me, it's like I do want more kids, but also in the mindset of like, it's not even easy having one kid, but I do want more kids. So are you mentally prepared for like whatever is to come with that? And I don't think I was even mentally prepared for one kid because you can never be prepared until they come, to be completely honest with you. I think life in general was about pivoting. I don't know. I think with you, you're always saying like, oh, I don't want more kids, this, that, and the third. And I never really say anything because it's like, it's your body, it's your choice. And I think the difference is your spouse also is okay with just having one child.
Yeah.
To me, it would be different if he wanted another kid, just being honest with you. I would straight up be honest with like, right. Not saying, oh yeah, you have to give your husband what he wants, but I do think that like when you get married and you like, yes, you can change your mind, but if you go into a marriage or a relationship and saying like, okay, these are the things that we want and this is what these people signed up for, it does kind of blindside the person when now you change, which is okay, but it's also, you have to be mindful that like, okay, this is what I promised, not promised, but this is what I said I wanted. And yes, I changed my mind, but also give that person space to feel differently. And I think your situation is different because you and your spouse agree that you guys only want to have one child. Now, do I think for the kid it can be tricky? Of course, because it can be lonely having only one child in the house. Because honestly, as a parent, even with Celine, I was like, yo, she needs a friend. Like, I really do not want to entertain her right now. Like, please get away from me. But I don't know. I'm not an only child, so I can't speak from how it feels to be an only child. One of my cousins is an only child, and we did grow up like around each other, but it's not the same. So even having conversations with her, I do see like the effect of like the whole only child syndrome, or not knowing how to build certain relationships and connections with people because you didn't have to do that in your household, or some only children always being around adults all the time. Like, I do think that there are certain things, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you want to share your thought process as to why or why not or whatever. That'll be up to you and your level of comfortability. But that's what I'm saying. It could really go both ways. I'm not going to judge somebody per se because they don't want kids. But if I ask them and they say, oh, because I want to go travel, it's like, that's the only reason why you don't want to have kids?
Yeah. I kind of look at it like a combination of ways. I think the choice to have children is a selfish decision. I think the choice to not have kids is a selfish decision. Like sometimes I think we like associate being selfish as a negative thing. And it's not. If you choose to have children, that is solely your choice. So it's like, it's a selfish decision. You're making this decision because this is what you want to do. So it's like, okay, boom, I'm going to have kids. I think it's, and that's fine. It's like a good selfish. Cool. That's what you want to do. I think it's a bad selfish when you're like, oh, I want to have kids just because I want them, but I can't necessarily take care of said kids that I feel like I want to have. That is selfish because now you're creating an environment of unstableness. Whether it's like financially unstable, emotionally unstable, it's like you're bringing someone into a situation because you feel like that's what you want to do, but you're not appropriately evaluating all the different aspects that go into having children.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, it's a selfish decision to me either way, but it can be good and it can also be like bad. Like, I don't fault people who want to travel. I think that I think kind of like what you said, it's like when you were raised a certain way and you may see other people struggle or never having taken a vacation and, you know, never go to college and all these things. It's the same thing. People like, okay, nobody in my family went to college. I'm the first person to go to college. Not to say, you know, me per se, but that's a lot of people's stories. So it's like, okay, I had the opportunity to not have kids when I was young. That stopped me from being able to, you know, experience all these different things in life. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm the first person to do that. Then when you attain your college degree, it's like, okay, I'm by myself. Most people tend to leave college, they go back home. Now you have a bunch of disposable income because you're not paying no bills for real. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, now I can see the world, I can travel. And there are people who are like, I just want to pick up and go. Mm-hmm. If I want to be in a different country, and especially with remote work, it's like, if I want to take my laptop and I want to go work in a different country, I could do that because it's just me. And I don't fault people for wanting that to kind of be their long-term lifestyle, because there are a lot of people who are very nomadic. There are people who backpack through different countries. Like, oh, I'm just go backpacking through Europe. Yeah, but I personally wouldn't do it, but that's their life to live. If they decide, okay, children don't fit into this, then don't have them, because I feel like it's kind of hard to be raised by a parent that kind of, like you said, doesn't really want to be a parent because they would rather be doing something else. That affects your child because now it's just like, you're not happy with your life. Eventually, whether on purpose or not, that will start to spill over into your child.
Don't you think, I agree with what you're saying, but don't you think all of those things are temporary? Like when you're 60 or 50 years old and now...
No, because there are people who like, let's just say they work their entire life, they have kids, their kids are grown, finally get out of the house, they're in their early mid 60s, and it's like, okay, now I get to finally do all of those things. And there are people who literally just stay on the go. They stay on vacation. People who sell their houses. They're like, okay, I'm going to live in an RV. I'm going to drive the whole country. I'm going to do all of these different cruises. They're mad old people that just get on cruises. Like, oh, I'm going to go on this 30-day cruise.
Yeah, but that's not their whole life. Like, think about it. Like, if you decide, not you, but if someone decides to not, okay, let's say a couple, right? I was going to say a single person, but I don't want single people get upset. So let's say a couple decides they want to get married, but they don't want no kids, like ever. Don't ever want kids. All right, you guys did everything in life you wanted to do. Now you're old. You're in your 60s, 70s. One might get sick. It's like, I think humans thrive off of human interaction and a sense of family and community. Can you have family and community with other people? Sure. Even within your friend groups? Sure. But I do think that it's a little bit different. And I do think that, like, once you get to a certain age, that could be a very lonely lifestyle, because you can't just travel and go do RVs and do all these things when you get to a certain...
But you can, though. I feel like you can. I feel like only in the U.S. do we find that senior citizens and old people just kind of don't do shit. But that's not the case. Like, if you look at other countries, like I watched this whole like documentary, and they were going to like different variations, different places in different parts of the world where people tend to live the longest. So there was like a community in Japan that it was just like people living well past 100, or like they're old, they're in their 90s, but they're still active and they're moving, and they don't have the like different ailments. They get up, they garden, they walk, they ride bikes. I mean, Japanese people typically sit on the floor, so like their limbs are used to having to get up, get down, get up, get down. Mm-hmm. That is their normal life. And a lot of, when they were interviewing a lot of the different people, they said the same thing you're saying, like a sense of community. It was, but nobody was just like, oh, I have my kids that help take care of me. It was just like, no, I have my friends, I have my neighbors, this person, we garden together. This person, we go walking together. We do all of these different things. So I think that you can have that community and still be able to move around, do the things that you want in life. Actually, I personally think a lot of things are a U.S. issue because there's so much sickness and illness, and you have a large population of people, especially the elderly, that tend to be alone. In other cultures, they don't do that. People don't go to, like, retirement homes are not really like a thing. You don't just kind of get shipped off to sit in this little quote unquote apartment and just ship you off to die because nobody wants to take care of you. They have their friends, they stay in their regular homes, but they continue to live their everyday life with their peers. So it's just like their life is happier. And it's not necessarily because I have my kids. That's why I watched the whole thing, and I don't think one, like, there was something that was like a small community in Italy, and like there's very non-updated is not the right thing to say, but you know, like
not modern.
It's like it's very hilly, so they still walk and they still cook together. They still do all of those things to have that sense of community that helps them to live longer. I think in the U.S., isolation, I feel like, yes, isolation can be a death of a lot of people. It's just because, I mean, we saw it with COVID. There were so many people, like depression was on the rise. All of these, suicide ended up being on the rise because people were just contained to their sole environment, just 100% by themselves. You need to have some other interaction, but I don't think that necessarily comes from having kids. Even if you have a married couple who chooses, okay, we don't want any kids. We just want to, we have our community. It's not to say that they don't like kids. They may have, their friends may have kids. Like, okay, I interact with your kid. I come to your kids' birthday parties. I buy them gifts. I do all of these things. But when I go home, I don't want no kids. Because this is what we choose to do. We want to go see the world. We want to travel. There's plenty of places to go.
Yeah.
You know, and to not have that.
But that is a luxury because most Americans don't even have the funds to even take a vacation anyway. And I don't even think that has anything to do with having. I think
the cost of having kids is
a lot. Yeah, but I think even people who don't have kids can't live that lifestyle realistically anyway. Like, how many people? Well, I think we're different because a lot of our friends did go to college or do have professional careers. But I also know a lot of people that don't. And even without kids, they can barely pay the bills that they have. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. Okay, so even with this, maybe, okay, you can answer this either, why did you want to have a kid? Or you can answer, why do you think most people want to have kids?
I think that most people want to have kids as like a quote unquote like legacy thing, or you want to have something that is a representation of both you and your spouse. So it's like, this is a product of our relationship. It's this person. Which is why I think that choosing to have children is inherently a selfish decision. It's not like, oh, I'm choosing to have children because I want to keep the world population going. No, nobody's ever saying that. Like, oh, because if everybody stopped having kids, once we all die off, there will be no people. So it's like, it becomes like a necessary thing to keep things going. But sometimes you look at it like, well, these motherfuckers can have kids. Why I got to do it? It's not my sole job to keep the planet going. It's not my job. So it's just like, it's a selfish decision. It's just like, okay, here's our product of our love, this kid. But once you have that kid, even before, if you make a conscious decision, because like me getting pregnant was a conscious decision. It wasn't like, oh shit, here we are. It was just like, okay, this was very purposeful. But even in that decision, it's like, can we realistically afford to do this?
So, okay, I think that's another conversation though. Like, okay, even for me, I love kids. Like, literally, my pregnancy was smooth. Now the delivery, we can talk about that another time. Okay. In my mind, I do agree about the selfishness of wanting to have a product of your love and your union and building a legacy. I think also even within your own childhood, like wanting to build that family unit that you see in your head. Those are all selfish things. I agree. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that on either side.
No.
But I also know that, like, in my mind, I wanted to have like 5 kids, but reality set in, the prices set in, and just being a mom in general has showed me, like, this is a lot of fucking work. Like, some days it's not pretty and it's not easy. Do I think that I could do this 1 or 2 more times? Yes. 5 times? Absolutely not. And I think that's the realistic part for me. It's like, okay, yes, I want to build the life that I want, but also I don't want to be bringing all these kids into the world that I can't give the same amount of love and treatment to. Now, granted, the next kid might get a different type of mom. I mean, all kids get different parents. We talked about that. But I do think that a lot of times it is selfish when people bring 5, 6, 7, however many kids into the world that they, one, can't take care of mentally, emotionally, or financially. So I do agree with that. But I also feel like, I don't know, as hard as it is being a mom, I feel like, if I'm being honest, that's like the main, not the only thing, but like the most fulfilling feeling that I've had, like, emotionally or mentally. Just because, like, when you see your kid, like, develop and you know, like, okay, I put my all into this shit. You know what I mean? Like, again, a selfish reason, but I don't know. I feel like raising an upstanding citizen.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay, I'm going to contribute to have productive members of society because there's a whole lot of fuck shit going on out here. Mm-hmm. So we got to replace them with some upstanding fucking citizens. So yeah, it's like you have those things, and I too had the same thing. Like initially, I wanted 3 kids. Mm-hmm. I had 1, and I was like, oh wait, never again. And part of that is a culmination of things like pregnancy. It was fine. I didn't particularly like being pregnant, but that was also a lot of external factors. And I don't know if I lived in Maryland and I still had like my friends and my family like around me, would it have been the same? I don't know. It was just really me and Colin. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, it was just like, it was that experience alone. Yeah, it's a part of the reason why I'm just like, no, I don't want any additional children, because it's definitely hard. Like once, you know, I got through pregnancy, and I also lived in Georgia. So once it started getting hot, I was fucking miserable. Mm-hmm. Whew, it was so hot. It was so hot. I was swollen everywhere. I had a pinched nerve in my back. Like I'm done with this shit. Just get out of me. I can't take this not one more fucking day. Get out. It was like, so it's like, you know, that part you can kind of like get over. You can plan different. Like, okay, I'll be small pregnant in the summertime, and then when it really counts, it's cool outside. I'm fine. I'm not overheating because it's 95 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, certain things you can change those factors around. But once I had Harper, and when I really started going through, well, when I realized I was going through postpartum and the extent that it lasted, because it's just like in my mind, I thought it was like, oh, you know, baby blues only last a couple of weeks. You'll get into the groove of things. You'll kind of get over it. Then when I didn't get over it, and it extended well until she was almost 2, then COVID hit. It was just like, I feel like I was so deep into a hole that I couldn't get out of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, part of me is like, I don't even want to take the risk of having another kid and this be the exact same experience. I know logically in my mind, it could go 1 or 2 ways. It could happen again, or it could not. It could be a whole different experience. But just knowing through like mentally what I was going through, I'm like, I don't want to put myself in that situation again, because it wasn't good for me. I don't feel like it was good for our family. Like it was kind of that thing that we talked about, like I can just dissociate from things, and I'm just kind of like, I'm here, but I'm not really here.
But even that, I feel like it's fair and it's not selfish. I feel like you think it sounds selfish, but I think it's more selfless, because you know the type of mom and wife you want to be, and the chance that you might not be that person if you have this other child, or it's not even about the child. It's more so about your experience, right?
Yeah.
Your experience and how it made you feel and all those things. I feel like that is more mature and more selfless, because I don't think it's that you don't want any more kids. I think it's more so you don't want to take the risk and mess up the unit that you've already built.
Yeah, it's a part of that. And it's also like, I look at things like big picture, like I'm an accountant. I can't help but look at the cost of things. Even like where we live in Georgia. I feel like even the best county in Georgia, the public education system is completely different than that of like Maryland. It's just different. Every state is going to be different. We live in Georgia. I do feel like us staying in Atlanta was the better decision, like just overall, because there's all the things we've been able to do. We've been able to afford to buy our first house. We sold that house. We bought another house. You know, that's more of like a long term. We stay here. Like I would actually be happy if we never moved out of this house. I love our house now. So perfect house. We would have a basement. If our house had a basement, I would never move. This would be like, this is my forever house. I don't need nothing. I have this. I'm cool with not having grass at all. If we didn't have a dog, I'm cool with not having no fucking grass. We could put a pool back here. I don't need grass. Like, you know, it's just like, I could see myself being in this space for a while, you know, for a long time. But I feel like after the first year, I knew I was just like, I want to go home. I miss my family. I miss my friends. I want to go home. But it's just like, I know if we came back, we wouldn't have been able to do the same thing. We wouldn't have been able to buy a house because it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that you have to make to comfortably live and afford a house, the kind of house that we would want is just like, we cannot afford that. You know, just based off the environment. So staying, it was like, okay, cool, that's fine. But also we have to look at different things. Like us looking at currently trying to put her in private school. They're not cheap. And it's just like, okay, if we give it to one, we have to give it to all. So it's just like, when I see people, even when I see people with multiple, I'm like, you have 3 kids in daycare at one time?
Yeah.
How? How do you do said things? But I also know that, okay, we want to be able to do these things. We want to be able to put her in private school. So if we had extra, we would have to be able to do that times however many amounts. If we want to travel and be able to take her places, you know, we would have to be able to take everybody. And it's just like, okay, what is the more important thing? Is it more important to kind of give the one that we have the life that we kind of like envisioned? Or for the sake of saying, oh, I have, 3 kids, I have this. Because for some people, I do think the amount of kids matters to them.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, if we have multiple, like, okay, I got 3 kids, but I don't travel with my kids. Or, we haven't seen, they can't see the world. And that's not.
But you know what else? I feel like even because we both keep bringing up traveling, right? For me, do I like to travel? Sure. But that's not something for me that's like something that makes me happy.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're the type of person who that lifestyle, like traveling or doing certain things is what makes you happy, then that makes sense. For me, do I like to, I don't want to say I don't care about traveling, because I do care about traveling. I don't want to just stay put in one place all the time. But traveling for me isn't something that in my mind was always like, oh my God, I want to travel, I want to travel, I want to travel, I want to see all these different places. More so for me, traveling is like, okay, something that I like to do with, let's say, a friend, like a group trip, or let's say even with my husband. Let's say even with my husband, like, okay, yeah, it's our anniversary, like, let's get away. But if we only traveled one time a year, I would be perfectly fine with that. Some people, that's not conducive for them, or that's not what's going to make them happy.
Yeah,
so I do see, like, yeah, like for you like to travel a lot. Me, I'm like,
book me a flight, babes. Let's get the fuck about
it.
Yeah, so it's just like, for us, that's something that's very important. Like, even like 2-3 weeks ago, well, she mentioned it at like the beginning of May. She's like, I need a vacation. I need to relax. I'm just like, what kind of kid says that?
Yeah.
Our kid says that. So it's just like, okay, cool. Miami's not too far from where we live. I'm like, okay, immediately. Let me get on my Googles and see, can I get us a good flight on, after school on a Friday? Let's pick up, let's go. Let's, get a hotel and let's just go. We literally had a day and a half.
But I think even situations like that, because I feel like it's a little bit different because you guys are curating experiences and building a certain lifestyle for your child.
Mm-hmm.
When I feel like not even a lot of people even do that. Like,
yeah, like, so for us, it's just like, I feel like everything has to make sense. If we want a plan to be like, okay, this is the plan, this is the life that we want to have as, as a couple, this is what we want to have as a family, this is what the things that we want to expose our child to.
mm-hmm.
You kind of have to stick with the plan. And sometimes that plan turns into your kid being like, oh, I need a vacation, I need to relax.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she be like, is there going to be a helicopter?
Oh, yes.
A helicopter,
or a boat. Or a boat.
Mm-hmm. Or a boat. And she's not talking about no little boat. She is talking about a yacht. And I'm just like, what did we do here?
But that's because when you expose your kids to certain things, that's the
expectation. So it's like, we know this. So it's just like, okay, this is the expectation. Even how we travel as adults, I'm not staying just any old place.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it. No, absolutely not. I will not do it. So it's like, okay, it's a standard. It's the same thing for our child. And it's just like, okay, even like I said, I look at the mathematics all the time. So it's just like, okay, if we're going to now put our kid in private school full time, we're going to go from, let's say, first grade to 12th grade. Got to do the math. How much this is going to cost us, but additionally, what are the other things that we want in our life? What are the other things that we want in her life? We want her to be able to do sports and activities and all these different things. We still want to be able to find time to travel. And sometimes it's just like, okay, we cannot afford to do this times 3.
Mm-hmm.
We might not be able to afford to do it times 2, but the one that we have, we're going to do it very purposefully in the life that we create for her. And it's just like, I in the beginning, I felt very guilty about not wanting any other kids because he didn't want kids. If I walked in the house today, like, okay, let's have a kid right now, he'll be with it. So it's just like, but when I had to have the real conversation and explain to him, like, I don't want any more kids. Like, I don't wake up and be like, I want to have another kid today. No, I have never had that thought. Like, I want to have another kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, for me, because that doesn't come to mind, it's like, it's clear that I don't want to do it. I've already done it. So it's like, I've done it. I have the experience. So I know if I would do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
but do you think, I feel like as women and as moms, like those first couple of years, like, yeah, dads are dads, especially us, we have husbands that are very hands-on. But at the end of the day, when you're a mom, you breastfeed and you like raised your home or your household a certain way, it's a lot on you, especially if you're a working mom. But do you think that as a man, is it fair for that to be a deal breaker for a man?
I feel like it's fair. I feel like it's fair on both sides. It's one of those things that somebody is going to have to do something that they quote unquote don't want to do. Somebody is going to have to compromise. It's not one of those decisions where it's like, okay, we can take half of my ideas, we can take half of yours, because it's a very real thing. If I decided to have another baby, I would have to get pregnant. I would have to carry said child. I would have to do all of the things. You have to breastfeed. You have to pretty much be the sole responsible person for an extended period of time. So sometimes how I look at it is like, really, who has to put more in? I would have to. So some decisions are going to be, I personally don't want to do this. I don't want to do this to my body. I don't want to do it. So it's just like, if that was a deal breaker for him to be like, okay, well, I want to have more kids, you don't, so we can't be together, that would be something that I would have to accept.
That is so,
and it's just like, if that was the case, and it's just like, ultimately, if that was a deal breaker, and it's like, okay, we have to separate, we would have to divorce because of this. Sometimes some decisions you just have to stand on and be like, okay, I can't give you what you want. It's not a matter of, oh, you don't want me to work, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna fucking work. It's not that kind of decision. It's a lifelong decision. It's a lifelong decision. It's a very personal decision. Like, it affects your personal body. It affects your mental well-being. It affects so many different things. And it's like, sometimes it's like, big joker, little joker. Sorry. And it's like, that sounds very crass, and I don't take it lightly as a light decision, because I feel like once I kind of felt like I got into a groove of things with parenting, having that in the back of my mind, like, I do not want any more kids. I felt
But at what point did you start feeling like that?
Shit, I don't think I ever thought about having another kid.
Really?
Never.
Now that I think about it, I don't think, no.
Never.
I don't think.
And it was just like, and it was like, I used to feel very guilty about it. And I'm just like, and I feel like that guilt was another thing that was aiding in the length of how depressed I was, because I'm just like, I just don't want to, I didn't want to have to face that conversation and be like, babe, I don't want any more kids. I know that you would be happy if we have more kids, but I just don't want to. And just being like, okay, what is even having that conversation, I literally was like sweaty with anxiety, because I'm like, well, what is he going to say? Because I know mentally, like I said, it's one of those things that it's a yes or no. It's not, there's no 50-50. There's yes or no.
But in a relationship, do you feel like, because there's always going to be things that one person wants and the other person doesn't want, and you have to meet in the middle or don't. But do you think that, like, if this was something that was, that's not saying to him it's not that serious, because obviously having kids is very serious, but if this was something that he really, really wanted, and he still said, like, all right, fine, like, I want you, because essentially, if he was a man who wanted multiple kids, and he said, well, being married to you and being in a relationship with you is more important to me than having all these multiple children, is that fair?
Yeah, because I think that that's kind of where we are.
Well, I'm not saying y'all specifically. I'm saying in a relationship, if somebody actually does want something, but they're like, damn, if I don't do this, then I'm going to lose that person. Do you think the person would, do you think there's ever any resentment? Not with y'all, because clearly.
Yes, I think in certain situations, yes, there can be resentment. And I think that resentment builds when everybody's not being completely honest.
True.
So you say that, okay, if your spouse says, I don't want any more kids, whether it's a male or a female spouse, because sometimes they're men like, I don't want no more kids.
Yeah.
There are a lot of men who are like, okay, we got 2 kids, 3 kids. I don't want no more kids. But the wife is like, I want to have more children. Because some people really, really, really love, some people just love the act of being pregnant.
I actually really love being pregnant.
Some people not necessarily,
the delivery, no.
Yeah, some people not necessarily don't want to have the, everything that comes with it. It's like, I love being pregnant. I love the feeling. I love that people do stuff for me. Like, I just love being pregnant. So some people have so many kids because it's just like, I just like being pregnant.
I think some people are addicted to being
pregnant. Yes, like people are addicted to plastic surgery. People are addicted to tattoos. People can be addicted to being pregnant. It's a feeling. It's the way that your hormones work. It's just like, I'm on a high and I'm chasing this all the time. So I'm going to keep doing it over and over again. But it does come, a lot of times it comes to a decision. Most times it's often the man that's like, I don't want no more kids. And in those situations, the wife has to make a decision. Now you can't say, okay, I'm cool with this, but in the back of your mind, you're not. Or you didn't express everything that you were feeling regarding how, that statement made you feel. That's where the resentment comes in, because you never said all the things you wanted to say and you agreed to something. So now you feel like I have to stick it out because I said that I would be okay with this. Because Colin and I've had multiple conversations about it. It's not just like, okay, we'll have this conversation. If I feel like it's not resolved and I'm like, I still feel like something's there, I didn't really like your answer. It doesn't make me feel comfortable that you're giving me the 100% honest, raw truth. No, we're going to have to address this again. Yeah. We're going to have to keep addressing it until both parties are like, okay, I feel like you're telling me 100% of the truth, and everybody can really accept the agreement that we're going to come to, whichever way it is. Because I don't want that resentment, and I don't want that to be something that kind of eventually it drives a wedge, and it does tear people apart. And I'm like, I don't want that. So we're going to have to keep addressing it. And if it came down to, it's just like, I want more kids. hard, like this is what I want 100%, and I'm like 100% I don't want anymore, then a decision has to be made. It's either yes or no. It's either stay together and one person be unhappy because they never did this, or you separate and say, okay, you get to continue to live your life. You can continue to multiply if you want to have more children. Would I like it? Of course not. No.
Oh yeah, of course.
But it's like when you make a decision, you have to live with the outcome of it, whichever way.
It's just so, oh my God.
It's just like I never thought that I would feel that way. I never thought that I would be like, I don't want any more kids. I thought, I'm like, okay, you'll get over it. But even when just like people bring it up, because like people ask us about having more kids all the time. And I think, you guys are only having one? Are you going to have any more? Are you going to do this? I've had people literally tell me, no, you need to give your husband another baby. And I'm like, no, because I don't want to.
I think that's a little
And I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, give my husband another baby? Are you going to take care of that baby? Are you going to pay all the costs that's associated with that baby? Like,
who told you he wanted another one?
Like, have you lost your goddamn mind? But for some people, they put a lot of stock into, okay, having a ton of kids. It's just like, so for some people, it's a status symbol. You know, like different cultures, it's just like what your kids, how many kids you have, what your kids are doing in life. That is a status symbol. It's like, oh, my kid's a doctor, lawyer, da da da. It's like, I'm higher up here. And like, oh, your kid's just a mechanic, so you down here. It's like a lot of people put stock into those things. I personally do not.
Yeah.
So it's very tricky. It used to really like piss me off, and I used to want to curse people out. Like, don't fucking ask me again if I want to have kids. I said no. That's it. But I don't feel like I don't get upset about it because I'm 100% comfortable in my decision. So it's just like it doesn't really make me mad. Now, if I answered your question before and you feel like, oh, I want to ask more details, don't play with me. Because everybody knows, like, if you know me, you know who people know who they can ask certain questions to, and we don't even have that kind of relationship. So how dare you even think that that's even something appropriate for you to ask me?
I think in general, some people would just be too comfortable because, I mean, even as close as we are, if you bring up the topic, then we'll have the discussion. But I'm never coming to you like, Trey,
which is crazy to me.
Why you don't really want to have no more kids?
Which is crazy to me. And I've told you, I'm just like, you could ask me anything. I know like that, but it's a different kind of relationship. You could literally ask me anything, and I'm going to answer the question.
People probably think this conversation is staged, but it's not. We don't talk about this just because for me, I know that like that's a very touchy topic. And I'm the type of friend that like, I don't get in your business until you put me in your business. I'm not asking you no questions that I feel like might be a sensitive topic for you. Now, if you come to me and say, hey, let's have this conversation, then we're going to have the conversation and then I'm going to ask the questions. But I'm never going to come to my friend and be like, so what's the real reason why? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Shit, I feel like certain situations, I'm like, I could be either or. Like when you first had something, I'm like, Sierra, you're not going outside.
Yeah, no.
And I'm like,
I was afraid.
What's the problem? Are you scared to go outside?
I was.
And I'm just, because it's one of those things that it's just like when you've been through it, you can see it in other people, and it's like, no.
I think what's the conversation is different now because we both are now married and we both now have a child. We both have been with our spouses for however long before, during, and after kids. So I think the conversation is different. So you kind of know that like. On either side, there's no judgment. Like I know, you know what I'm saying. So I think it's different, but I don't know. I think that like there's just certain things that I just choose not to pry into when it comes to friendships. Like even for me, I don't like when people ask me questions about like not people, but like I'll say people. I don't like when people ask me questions like about my marriage or about
because that's weird. That's just like
people do. They will literally be like. So how's married life? How's your marriage?
Oh God, I hate that question.
I don't like that question. How you think I'm going to really sit here and tell you how my married life is? Good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not having that conversation.
It's always good.
You know what I mean?
It's always good. Like always great. Like
I don't like that. And I feel like that's just the type of person that I am. When people, for whatever reason, always feel comfortable to come to me and talk about things, that's fine. But I never pry and say, Like, I don't initiate said conversation because I don't know, you just never know. And certain things that I might be sensitive about, people might not know that I'm sensitive about those things because I don't talk about it. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, most of the time, like, things will build up before I erupt most of the time, which is not good. And it's something that I've been trying to work on. But it's like unlearning all the things you've ever learned or you ever did in your life. But most of those times when I get to that point, it's only a few people that I'm going to call. Okay? And even then, I think about it before I pick up that phone call. Or before I dial them numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so that's why for me, it's like I'm never going to go to my friend and be like, why you don't want to be married? Why you don't have no more kids? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
and it's also like the way in which you approach the conversation.
But it's like, how do you even approach these conversations? Like, you get what I'm saying? Either way.
I mean, I feel like with like you and me, you can ask me anything.
Yeah. I mean, I feel
I would tell you. So, but outside people, it's just like, no, I agree. If it's an outside person, you bring it to me. Okay, cool. You initiated said thing. So it's obviously something. It's not like a prying thing. I never ask people about their relationship. That's just weird to me. It's just like, why
people do it?
Why? Like,
I feel a lot of people do that, honestly.
And I just feel like people, and I feel like a lot of times it don't even be that people care from a standpoint of wanting to give advice and wanting to help. People just be fucking nosy. And then just be like, what you asking me for?
Especially if a non-married person asks me that. It's like, you think I'm really about to...
I'm about to spill my tea to you? No.
Even about being a mom, it's like, if you're not
planning to have kids, and that's why you're asking me as a sense of inquiring, like, okay, well, how do you feel like motherhood affected you? How do you feel like that helps your career? It's like you need to be asking like specific questions, not just like, oh, how's being a mom? It's good.
Like, you're tired sometimes. It's a lot of work. Like, if I know that like you're somebody who doesn't want to have any kids or be married, when you ask me a question like that, I'm never answering it good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, it's always going to be. It's fine.
We're not having the conversation.
It's always going to be. It's fine, and you should just take that for what it is. But yeah.
I got deep in here. It's a little toasty.
I know, but it's also for like people. It's like if you see me, don't ask me about having no kids, because I promise you, I will never give you whatever it is that you're looking for. I will never give said thing to you. That's just how I am. That's just how I operate. It will never fucking happen. So please, don't insert yourself. Don't give me your opinion, because I don't fucking care. And I really be so in my I don't give a fuck bag lately. I'm gonna tell you, please stop fucking talking to me. That's gonna be that when the dissociation happened. I just
straight. That's or even.
I just start zoning off in the space because I don't care. It's nothing that anybody could say to convince me, because it's like at this stage in the game, my daughter's gonna be 6.
Yeah, she's grown.
She's grown. But even like all different challenges that we've had through parenthood in the 6 years, could I do it again? Yes. I mean, you can pretty much do anything. But it's just like, I'm very happy with our family. I'm very happy with the life that we have. I don't want no more. We got a dog. I don't want no more fucking pets either. Not a thing.
That's a whole
girl.
Other...
When Jax is done,
she's done.
That's it. No more animals. None. Like, but I'm very happy with the life and the family that we have. Like, even just going to Miami, like we were in the pool and she was doing what she do, being a fish. I was just like, I'm happy we get to do shit like this. I'm happy it's just like, okay, we have the extra income to be like, okay, you want to go on a trip? Let's book a flight. Let's go on a trip, because
that's all it boils down to.
That's what I want you to have. I want you to have these experiences. Like, in my mind, I want to take her to all the Disney worlds across the world. Every single one, even Disneyland, even though that one's not like, but it's just like, I want to take you to all the ones. There's one I think in China. We're gonna have to go to China, because we gotta check this off the list. We're gonna go to the one
in. I go to Japan for sure, but
And it's just like those things bring me happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to do those things for our child is really what fulfills me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love being able to be in a position to do that for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's where the fulfillment comes from. So I don't feel the need to do it again. I'm like, I feel fulfilled right now.
Yeah.
Even through all of the, I don't want to say turmoil, but it's like, you got a lot of shit to figure out as parents. You got a lot of learning to do about yourself, your spouse, how y'all operate as a family, how you deal with your child. And yeah, like, we just be having to do that. So it's like, I feel fulfilled in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, there we go.
Yeah. And I think, I guess to summarize, fulfillment for you as a person, also within your marriage, I think this would be a different conversation if you and your spouse or whoever and their spouse weren't on the same page. And I think that's what a lot of this even boils up to be. When you find somebody, some people don't even want to be married, which I think being married is one thing, but having companionship is another. I don't think there's anyone in the world that truly, truly, truly does not want to have a life partner.
Yeah. So at some point, everybody wants
So I think
something.
at the end of the day, as long as you and whoever you choose to spend the rest of your life with are okay with the decisions that you're making and everyone's happy, that's truly all that matters. Honestly, whether that's to have kids or not have kids. I'm just saying, for those of us that want multiple kids, at least be mindful about what it takes to raise multiple kids. Don't just keep having kids because it's free, and it ain't even free.